Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of American Snippets. I'm your co-host, Barb Allen. We are here today with Dave Bray. He is branded, which I love. We're seeing this new trend emerging, but he is among the forefront of patriotic entertainers in this country. And what we love most about it is he has, I think, an extra brand of passion because he has served in our United States military in the Navy. And I feel like that must carry over because his music is so passionate when you listen to it. There are songs that you sing that you just cannot convey the meaning and the emotion in the song if you absolutely don't 100% believe it and feel it. He's now full-time touring as a musician, a singer, and a songwriter. He has performed all over the world, and he's dedicating his musical career to supporting veterans, active duty military, our law enforcement, firemen, and first responders. He's got all sorts of exciting events and work coming out and on the horizon and behind him. And we are so glad that he squeezed in some time today to speak with us. Dave Bray, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me again on American Snippets, and I hope to come back. And also, thank you, Barb, for your continuation of service, and our deepest condolences.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you saying that, and part of what makes it easier for families like mine who've gone through things, first off, is to see our veterans come out of service and do so well and get to enjoy the freedoms and the opportunity that you all gave so much for. And what I like to tell people, I make a point of telling people, is that you have every right and almost more of a duty to do well and live your life fully because you've done so much. And for me, that's what makes my husband's sacrifice and loss so worthwhile, if you will, because it's not for nothing. So every time I see somebody doing something extraordinary with their lives, I'm like, thank you for making the most of what goes into it. So I'm especially pleased to see our veterans do that. And your story is super cool because you're bona fide rock star. So it's awesome. It's very exciting what you do. I've listened to your music. I couldn't listen to one of those songs all the way through because it just was like, I've heard a lot of music sang from artists and performers, and very few songs touch me the way that some of your songs do. So thank you for that.
I truly appreciate that. As far as a musician goes, that's about the biggest compliment as I can get. You hit the nail on the head as far as continuation of service. I think that is one of the things that we as veterans should all do post-service. And I think we need to carry on our passions. And like you said, we need to explore that American freedom a little bit more that we serve to uphold. So yeah, I'm honored to do so with my music as I am honored by your kind words.
Thank you. So can we talk a little bit, and we'll go sort of in sequence, your service. What drew you into military service in the first place?
So I have to go back to going to my great aunt's house when I was a little kid. And it's actually on my honor wall behind me. There's a Purple Heart certificate from World War I that hung in the living room. And this place was old. And it fit right in. But I can remember gazing upon it as a child as this beautiful piece of artwork. If you've never seen one, you should really look at what one of those Purple Heart certificates looks like. It has the gentleman down on one knee, looking up to Lady Columbia, and she sort of gives her blessing. And it's really just a beautiful piece of artwork. I didn't know what it meant at the time. As I grew older, my great aunt passed, and it was the one thing that they asked me if I would want anything from the house, and I took that down off the wall. And it was just compelling. And once I realized really, really what that meant, and I found out the story behind it, where my great uncle served in the Battle of Forest, and he was actually injured. He lost his leg. He jumped down into a well and used his leg to prop himself out so he wouldn't be hypothermic at night. So, for 3 days, this guy was,
my God.
Yeah, just to stay alive, right? So, it was just a different time back then. And, I come from a military family, obviously him, and law enforcement family as well. So my father served. He was an enlisted Navy guy. My brother was enlisted Navy. I went into the Navy, obviously enlisted into the Dixie Cup Cracker Jack Navy, then crossed into the Fleet Marine Force, which is combat medics for United States Marine Corps.
Wow. Quite the back. So with a family history like that, did you grow up kind of hearing about military? Was anybody surprised when you went into service? Was it expected of you?
No,
or just
I
like
think
a natural evolution?
yeah, it was one of those things where I think all of us, me and my brother, I say all of us, but again, we were raised in a military family, but it wasn't something that was drilled into us. I mean, there was a little bit of reveille, heave two, trice up in the morning where we woke up and, we did push ups every day together with dad and that kind of stuff. So there was some of that. And I carry that over to my sons as well. But
You wake them up and you make them do push-ups?
yeah, we do sometimes. Yeah.
Can you please come wake my son up?
Well, we try to motivate them from the time they get out of bed. We
Oh
want them to be engaged with us. We want them to be a part of,
God, that's awesome.
and yeah, there's no better
You
way.
could make a lot of money doing that. I know a lot of moms like me would pay you whatever. You could have whatever you want. Just come get my kid out of bed and motivate him early in the morning. Rock on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I do that. I interrupt and I babble.
no, you're allowed to babble, but my kids, they dragged it just like y'all. But they're only 7 and 9, but we're into it. And again, I feel like military service was really, really appropriate for me. I think if I would have gone directly to college, I probably would have wasted a lot of time and money. And I really needed that focus. I really needed somebody to be like, okay, you have all the potential in the world. Let's put it to work. And that's what the military did for me at a young age. So I was blessed to have that opportunity.
Awesome. Is there one moment in your service that stands out to you, whether, with a civilian or with your service member or whatever moment it was, downtime, uptime, that sticks out in your head that makes this impression last in your life that you're open to talking about?
Okay, yeah, that's a good. You finished off with the
Yes.
best
Yes.
moniker there.
Yeah.
In my service, I got to say, just overall, there's a brotherhood and a kindred sort of unity that you will not find, I don't believe, anywhere else, maybe in law enforcement. But I still have some really, really close and tight friends that I met in some unique experiences in the military that, they're like brothers to me still to this day. And, those are the types, I believe, are the memories that you make while you're in the military that you go back and you say, I know now that I have people in my life forever for the time that I'm on this planet that no matter where they are, no matter where I am, if I call them or they call me, they've got my back. And I think that is what I've taken out of the military.
Nice. So is there some kind of skill level? I talk with a lot of veterans. I work professionally with veterans, and personally, I'm in the military community. And I'm sure you're aware too of this issue of people coming out of service and losing their focus, not having that focus, that structure, that discipline. One person I spoke with and interviewed, she put it well. She was a battalion commander, lieutenant colonel, just retiring. And she said, yes, I led a battalion into combat. I did this great thing, but in the military, I was always told what my next great thing will be. I never had to devise that myself. Now I'm out and there's nobody telling me what my next great thing will be. And so for some people, that can be a huge gap that they sort of struggle with and fall through. I'm happy to say she is not. But do you have something in your world, in your life, that you were able to do that helped you bridge that gap? Because you're now doing your next great thing. And I don't know how seamless of a transition that was for you or not. But is there something that helped you through?
Absolutely. And you're right. It was music. And I think part of what we are dealing with in today's veteran community and, again, veteran suicide is because of what you just spoke about. Is when you are a part of the military, you're part of such a sort of branded unit where everybody knows what everybody's next move is to be. And then all of a sudden, like, a lot of guys get out almost in a way that is, I don't want to say vengeful, but they get out and say, okay, I'm done with the military. I have all this vast expanse of freedom, and holy cow, what do I do with it? How do I make my life mine now? And a lot of people and a lot of guys, I do feel, and girls, they get out and they're lost. They get scooped up into some of the wrong circles. And unfortunately, there's a lot of branding on the outside that goes towards, hey, you're a vet, man. Come on in with us. You can hang with us. We'll party. We'll drink beer and this, that, and the other thing. We'll grow beards, shoot guns.
We'll grow beards.
And shoot guns. And, you know what I mean? And I'm all for that. I do believe that there's a brotherhood element there. I'm not so sure that it's the healthiest element for men and women getting out of combat service and that kind of thing. I do believe there should be a better way to reassimilate. And if I could do it all over again, law enforcement would be my transition. And if I could encourage anyone that's ever served in combat or in the military, If you're looking for something that's not military, that's a little more civilian, you're not worried about being shipped out overseas or to, faraway destinations, come home and use those skills, man. Use what you found out and teach us and the law enforcement community back home what you've learned, and take all that knowledge that you've gained overseas or in combat and bring it here to us and give it to the law enforcement community. They're looking for men and women to stand by their side, have that experience. And again, that would be something that I would transition, or I would suggest. I don't know how many people you have listening, but I would suggest if you can get them into the law enforcement community, get them crossed over, give them that bridge to take what they've known and learned and use in the civilian world. That would mean the world to not only law enforcement, but us as a country.
Nice. So your transition, then you came out, and how long was it about, between the time that you were out of the military to where, I mean, you must have always played music, enjoyed music, known you had a talent for it. What or not? Did you just come out and say, "Hey, I'm going to try to sing," and it worked out brilliantly for you, which would be weird, but awesome too.
Right. So music for me was one of those things that I found in high school. It was right when grunge and Metallica was really starting to come into into their own, and I loved it. I said to myself, this is something I know I could do, and I could do well. And I did. I messed around with that in high school a little bit. Had the rock band, and then after I got out of the military, or actually I went into the military right out of high school, so there was no time to really make the rock band thing work. So I went to the military, bought a guitar, started writing, honing my skills as a songwriter more than anything else. And as I was serving, I was getting, audio tracks and stuff to work on and to write songs. By the time my time in the military was up, I got out and I was playing in a bar like 3 days later and had a small band that we were starting to work. And over the next course of about 4 or 5 years, we grew to the point where we were doing really well. We had released an album. I crossed over the country, went to California, tried to rebuild what we had built on a small scale here in Pennsylvania, in LA and Huntington area. And something didn't work. And I sort of fell off and I not gave up on music, but gave up on trying to play and perform live. It was just something that had lost a formula for me that was really worth doing. And I was losing joy out of it. So came back home to Pennsylvania, started working. I was actually working in logistics. I worked for BAE Systems, building the Bradley assault vehicles, still playing music and writing music. And I got with a couple different groups over the years. And then finally, in 2010, I got signed with Madison Rising, and that was that whole sort of evolution began. And, the great part about that was I could take all the experience from my military, my past, my history, and really put it to work. And giving the platform, it was right when social media was breaking and things like that. It really helped evolve, the patriotic spirit that I was hoping to bring with music all along.
I love that. And that is part of what drives us here to do our work at American Snippets so much. We saw, and I think your music does this in a huge way. What we're trying to do sort of with the spoken word. I always say, like, I write because I can't sing, right? So I write, and now I do a podcast because I got no business singing. But, your music, the spirit and the thoughts, the sentiment, the patriotism behind it is what we're trying to do here at American Snippets. I think it is so important, especially now when this country is so divided. I think there's never been a better time for your brand of music with your sincerity behind it. We need it. We need more of this. And I think music is such a unifying medium. People, you could be in the shittiest mood and hear a song and it lifts you up, or you could be in a great mood, hear a sad song and it'll bring you down, like that kind of thing. It's so powerful and so strong. I love that you're using it for the purpose that you're using it. And I'm so excited that you're doing it. How are the crowds when you come out? I mean, do they come up to you and tell you how it moves them, how it impacts them, or do you get to interact with the fans much?
No, I'm very in touch with the fan base. I consider each fan part of my family. Since releasing, I'm being on my own now. So since releasing the new album called Music on a Mission, I just recently went on tour with Ted Nugent, and to bring a whole new level of music out to the public, and I don't want to say, I mean, they're pretty opinionated fans, so they will let you know if you are no good. But
that's the best kind, though, right?
yeah, it was
Bring it, man. Yeah.
it was
Why
a
be lied to?
it was a litmus test for the band, and it was really something again to bring that patriotic spirit into his crowd in a way that they've never really seen it before. I think they were pretty much blown away. And if you go to my Facebook page, Dave Bray USA, or any of the other spots out on social media,
Yeah.
you'll get to see some of that fan interaction. You get to see some of those videos. You get to see some of those photos from the amazing events that we did with Ted Nugent. And again, I'm really, really happy with the reaction we got. After the shows, we had, a line around the corner to get
Awesome.
CDs. So, I mean, yeah, I was really sort of blown away because, again, your typical Ted Nugent fan is pretty, dedicated to him. And then to bring somebody like me, brand new, nobody's really, knows. And then to be so supportive, I think it shows a lot for not only the quality of the music on the record, but also the quality of the performance value and what people are looking for in this nation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are hungrier for that vibe and that reminder than we're giving credit for as a country. I think there are some people who are counting on the fact that we want to fight, we want to be divided, and overlooking the fact that underneath it all, we don't want to. We want to be united. We want to feel like this. Where do some of those songs come from? And and I had alluded to one before. And are these on your album? Your next song, Last Call, Amazing Grace, Freedom Rings. Are those on your new album?
Yes. So the new album is called Music on a Mission. I'll do a little pitch here for you.
Yeah, please do.
It's a storyteller album. So I actually narrate this. I talk about God and country, living with honor and respect, teaching that honor and respect to the next generation, and what kind of world are we leaving for them as we step off of it. I also talk about, my own search for faith. And I also talk about where we are going as a country together, just like what you're saying. Are we going to stand on this divisive sort of platform forever until it just erupts? Or are we going to find common ground and leave something positive for the next generation? Because I know way too many men and women serving overseas do not want to bring what's happening over there back to this country. This is the last chance for freedom and the last chance for unity and the last chance for the world to stand in a free country. So that's what I talk about on the record. As far as the songs, you have versions of God Bless America, The Star Spangled Banner, Amazing Grace are all my renditions. And then you have some originals like The Hunter, which talks about my search for faith, Freedom Rings, which talks about the flag and how important it is, and the fact that it's draped over a coffin. It's the most important piece of cloth we have. There's a song called Into the Fire where I talk about Stephen Siller, who's a 9/11 firefighter, and his bravery on that day. And then Last Call as well. So there's a lot of really, really great music on here. And I would relate it. It's sort of like, I would say like an hour long. So it's an hour of really great talk radio, but you get to listen and talk about the elephants in the room in this country, and you get great music instead of commercials about gold and other things that you hear on talk.
I know. What was the one that always comes on? Hi, I'm Mike Modell, whatever, with My Pillow. He's the guy that always comes. Oh my God.
You don't hear a My Pillow commercial.
I can't handle one more My Pillow commercial. I just gave it to him, but I can't help it. Maybe it works. So when you decided to go down this career path and focus on the patriotic aspect, did you have any kind of negative responses from people, or people who are like, look, there's no audience for that. You'll never make it. Why don't you stick with safe? I love country music, right? I am a country girl. I love country music. And that's a super popular field. Like, were people telling you stick with country? That's a sure thing. Did they think you're out of your mind for focusing on patriotism?
I've never been one to chase a train. So, I mean, to be able to be, I guess, a figurehead in patriotic rock or patriotic music, I look at guys like, oh my goodness, I'm going to draw a blank. Proud to be an American.
Lee Greenwood.
Lee Greenwood. Okay.
Yeah.
I look at guys like Lee Greenwood and I say, these were guys that back in the 80s, okay, there was nothing but Poison, metal, hair bands and everything else. Country was Hank Jr. and Pretty Wild, and all that kind of stuff. And yet he popped his head up and came out with a song. And for me, if I can be the guy who 20 years from now or however long can be the next Lee Greenwood, I'm happy with that. I look at guys like in those bands like that were existent in the 80s, and they don't look so good, man. They didn't take really good care of themselves.
Some of them look a little rough, yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been focusing on the nonprofit communities. I'm looking to grow with a lot of these much smaller nonprofits that are working out there. to help bring that essence of patriotism and that spirit of what they're going for with their nonprofit, be it for military or first responders or police. Those are the communities I want to grow with over the next 10 or 20 years so I can grow my career, and then I can also help them grow in turn. So that's what
Perfect.
my goal and focus is to work with like-minded people, direct markets, and use my ability to write a song to get to their hearts and hopefully heal those who need to be healed and engage the spirit of those who needs to be awakened. So that's what the goal is with the music, and that's why I call it Music on a Mission, because that's exactly what it is.
That is exactly what it is. Along this way, have there been any significant mistakes or setbacks that were sort of pivotal moments for you and taught you something, or maybe were a little more challenging to get past than you expected? Something that, did you take any teachable moments from those, or just some fun moments?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of mistakes, no matter what we look back upon, if we don't learn from our mistakes, we're failing as human beings, So, there's some things going back with some of the relationships with some people in the business that I would not have trusted, as far as I could throw them, even though I knew when I met them that I shouldn't have trusted them, and everyone around me knew that I shouldn't
Guilty.
have.
I've done the same. Yes.
But you're still like, yeah, sure. For some reason, I'm
Yes.
actually going to do business with you right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Or it's just those are the type of people that, because we as artists, or I say we, but as an artist, you really will do just about anything you can possibly do if you believe in your product and your craft enough to get out there. So when somebody offers that to you and you take it, the unfortunate part about it is if it doesn't feel good at the beginning, you shouldn't do it. Right. So if you're not trusting your gut, you're failing as a human to trust your internal instincts. So I wish that I could go back and change some of those relationships, and especially some of the people that I've dealt with in this business over the last, 5 to 7 years.
Yep. I think there are very few people I know that don't regret some of the relationships we've gotten into in our lives. But I like to tell myself that they've, at least, painful as that was or difficult as it was, it led you. They were like holding your spot to get to where you are now, right? So
Absolutely.
They kind of guided you on your way. So take some solace in that, right? It served a purpose.
Again, I got to say, since coming out as a single artist, there have been carryovers of groups who have embraced and understood what my goal was in comparison to the bigger picture, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And after I released the record, they're like, thank God that you have done this, because we needed it. We've been waiting for you, kind of thing. Yep. And there's just some really, really great people and relationships that were made over the years that I wouldn't trade for the world as well. So there's those two elements there of ones you wish never existed.
Yes.
And then the ones you wish that, you could, you didn't hold on to tight enough, or you didn't, you haven't given enough yet. So there's a broad future for relationships, but relationships are crazy for sure.
I know, they're the cause and the solution to a lot of problems, right? So are there any particular nonprofits that you're working with now, or that you would like to work with?
Yep. I work with COPS, which is the Iowa COPS. There's a COPS. I work with them all over the country. Fraternal Order of Police I'm working with. Special Operations Wounded Warriors I work with. I also work with the Backstoppers, with the Guns and Hoses guys that put on the events every year. So a lot of first responders, a lot of those kinds of things. Just did an event with Beyond the Battlefield, which is John Tigan. He was one of the authors of the book 13 Hours. Yep. Just did an event with him. So Beyond the Battlefield is one. I mean, you got just go to my Facebook, Dave Bray USA. You'll see all the people that I have worked with in the past and continue to work with in the future. Again, I've come full turn into being sort of a rowdy bar band, into being sort of a corporate entity. I do a lot of, work with NFL, MLB and hockey and all across the sports arenas. NASCAR I've worked with, obviously. But again, I'm more into the black tie corporate event kind of world right now, just because I feel what I bring fits that mold a little bit more and brings that patriotism to their events, and it brings people together when they show up. So those are the events that I've been working for. Again, go to Facebook and check out Dave Bray USA. You'll see all of the nonprofits that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine the corporate world could use could use a little fun every now and then, maybe more so than a lot of other worlds. A lot of people are super serious in their jobs. It's like high pressure. You must be a great release for them to come out and kind of unwind and kick it up a little bit in a fun, positive way too. You are a little multifaceted here as well, because you also have an apparel line that you have put out, Brave Day USA.
Yeah, Brave Day USA.
How did that happen?
Well, that actually started first. I needed to find funding to get money to go to the studio, and I was sitting there going, "What am I going to do to be a hands-on, hands-off kind of entity as far as being something that generates income?" So I started Brave Day USA. It all started from an idea of walking fearless in faith and making every day a brave day. Of course, there is the similarity between my name, Dave Bray.
Yes, so, got it. I like the way it's laid out too on the shirts. Yeah. I looked at it a couple times. I'm like, oh, I get it. That's cool.
Once you get it, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a faith-based apparel line that was still kind of cool. So somewhere between some of the stuff you see from the military guys and then something faith-based, or bringing God and country together as one. I wanted to use that entity. So that really started off really, really well. And that was what enabled me to be able to go out and record a record. I mean, I just, money doesn't grow on trees. So yeah, I had to create an apparel line first.
Yeah.
And get the capital to be able to record the songs.
Love it. I talk a lot about that to people I work with too. It's like passion versus purpose. A lot of people, the recurring theme now is follow your passion. If you're doing a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But that could be a little dangerous too, because you had to do a lot of work that you love, but it was hard. It was labor intensive. You had to apply yourself to do this maybe similar, like aligned path, but not the exact path you wanted to go on, right? So sometimes people can think, if it's my passion, I should just focus only on that. And they get so bogged down thinking, all I'm going to do is sing. I'm going to make money right away singing, and don't maybe have the instinct or the natural understanding to know, look, I have to be grounded here. I have to do that. And I love that you did that and found that there were similar or kind of parallel paths to pursue your passion that fulfills your purpose as well, and how you blended it all together. It's not as easy to do as you just sat here and, and quietly just stated that, yes, I just did that.
Well,
a lot of people get caught up in that and stuck.
Yep. Every t-shirt that says Brave Day on it, I printed. Yeah. So I've printed every shirt, every pull, everything. So I didn't just create a company and say, hey, throw money at this, make this happen. I actually went, got the equipment.
How did you learn how to do that?
I have friends who do it, and I watched and learned, and very simply just created a small company. Like I said, I've done shirts for a couple other organizations since then, and turned on some extra revenue. But like you said, the envelope is still the same, though. It's still about God and country. My T-shirt's still about God and country, just because. But that was the root of this message. The seed was to be planted to create patriotism. You know what I mean? So I wanted the shirts to do the same thing as the music. So the passion was exactly the same. And again, I don't feel like I'm working when I'm, in my garage pulling T-shirts and sweating. I just enjoy it. My kids help me bag them up. It's a family affair, and it is what it is. So. Yeah.
That is great. What are some of the venues that you have coming up?
Okay, so running down through, I'm going out to Mount Vernon, Illinois. That's a Fraternal Order Police. Border Patrol Academy graduations, Artesia, New Mexico. Sandy Corley Memorial Run, Rothbury, Michigan. That one's like a biker run if you're in the Midwest. That one's up in Michigan. That one's going to be a really cool event. Orange County Choppers, which is up by you.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And then it's Special Operations Wounded Warriors Charity Dinner in Boca Raton, Florida, August 24th. There's still tickets. Midwest Barbecue for the Brave, Frankfort, Illinois. And, again, you brought up nonprofits, and I want to just circle back with one as well.
Sure,
because,
please.
They are doing something that I believe is truly extraordinary. We all hear about, nonprofits. We're here to help vets. We're here to do this. So recently I found one called the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Tower Foundation. And that's actually a tie-in with the song Into Fire off the record, where I talk about Stephen Siller and his last day being 9/11. But that organization is actually building smart homes for our veterans. And I've been blessed to be a volunteer, to be a part of those events where they give the homes away. And even more, I've started into helping, volunteer throughout the builds and taking the veterans around to do shopping sprees and pick out stuff from Home Depot. So
That's fun.
that, yeah, it is really fun. It's not, again, work at all, but I get, to be able to hand a home over to a veteran and be a part of that
How
organization.
cool is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen Siller, Tunnel to Tower Foundation.
I'm writing that down. Yeah.
Yeah, please do. If you know somebody who can give,
Yeah.
give. It's one of those no BS. This is what they're doing, and they're actually doing some amazing things. They're also helping out law enforcement who are killed in the line of duty. I know they've assumed a couple of the mortgages from the family, so they're helping out in that regard as well across the country. They're really, really the real deal. And if people can help out the Stephen Siller Tunnel and Tower Foundation, I truly appreciate that.
Awesome. And you just mentioned something that brought something to head. I think, I lost my husband in 2005, and it was a different landscape in the country then, where there were some people set up who wanted to kind of watch out for and look out for, but especially because we were a National Guard family, there's no community there. There's no built-in community. Everybody's scattered. Half of us didn't know each other. So you're sort of on your own. And certainly not that anybody is entitled to anything, right? I'm not entitled to anything because my husband died in Iraq. That was our life. That was there's no entitlement involved. But when people do want to come forward and help and support, it means the world to us. Sometimes people have supported us and helped me make that leap from a dark period in my life and one last boost to get to where I am now, to help me, get the energy back in my life and remind myself that I have a lot to live for, to where I put my life back together. And I wish that my husband had known, and I wish that really everybody serving knows this now and understands this now. In the worst case scenario, should something terrible happen, I think it's so important for people to know that there are people now who come forward and help. Our families are not kind of abandoned as a whole. There's so much support out there. I think it's an important message to know. I think a lot of the spouses I talk to, when I tell them of these organizations, their husbands are alive and well and serving, right? And they're like, they still feel better knowing that these people exist and serve. So I love that organization. I love what they do. And I love it even just for the peace of mind. I'm not sure if people like you who are involved with those organizations, or even those people themselves, understand what they're subconsciously doing is giving people peace of mind as well, where knowing, like, if you knew if something terrible was happening to you and you knew there were people that were going to be there to support your family, it would sort of maybe alleviate some of the stress. So that was like another tangent, but I just want to thank you all for doing that, because it's like the unseen side effects that you have that I'm not sure you all ever get to know of. Peace of mind, what it does, it's huge. And I love that there are organizations, and especially when somebody comes out and vouches for them, because like you said, there's a lot of untrue organizations out there that
organizations
kind of, they prey on you. They put the widow up for the photo op or something and take the money and run. So I'm definitely going to check that out. And I think I've actually heard of that organization before. I think I've seen a run or something they did online.
Every they do the same exact run that Stephen did.
Okay.
From the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel all the way down to Ground Zero. That run is about, I think, 2K or 3K, something like that. And they actually shut down that road, the same path that he took, just to commemorate him, to memorialize that bravery and that heroism that he put forth on his day off. Looks over and sees, the city burning and just decides, I'm going to run. He calls his family, here's where I am, throws the phone and rolls into the city. You know what I mean? It's just a rare bravery. And I that's exactly why I wanted to talk. I tell that story on the record. And I wanted to explain, to the next generation, if this album makes it to the kids, I want to explain to them, this is what a hero looks like. This is what bravery is. This is where we as a nation know where we're failing you, but here's where we want to help, and to teach them patriotism and respect is the most important thing we can pass on to the next generation, because if that is lost, then there's no platform or there's no foundation. Foundation crumbles and this nation crumbles, and it'll be gobbled up just like the rest of the world's been gobbled up by politically correctness and that wash of just filth that is just eating up through Europe. And I mean, we see it in the news now. It's eating away at society. And it's something that we should cherish here. It's still alive, but
it still has a pulse. Yeah.
holding on by a thread. And we need to make sure, that's what Music on a Mission is for. It's to help that.
I love it. Love it. Love it. And you'll be bringing copies of those to your event in Newburgh?
Yep, I'll have them there. Any of my events, but you can also, if anybody just wants to get the album, an autographed copy of the CD, they can download it anywhere. It's on Spotify, it's on Amazon, CD Baby, all those places. But if you just want an autographed copy, you can get them at davebrayusa.com, DAVEBRAYUSA.com. And I'll sign them up and send them out for you. And if you want to do bulk pricing for fundraisers or anything like that, I do that as well. Just let us know. Send us a personal message and we'll work something out.
Perfect. Yeah. And one of your songs just recently debuted at 6 on iTunes.
Well, it was the whole album, actually.
The whole album.
So
I love it when I get things wrong.
Yeah, it released. I've been told that it released at number 4, and then slowly dropped to 6 by the time I found it. But I didn't even check that. Somebody sent me a picture when they were like, "Wow, you released it. You released it number 6 on iTunes," and it was with, hang on, it was with Godsmack, Greta Van Fleet. Shinedown. So that was the release of the album. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Doesn't mean anything to me, but I think it's pretty important to say that if a young patriotic artist can pop his head up on the national platform and make some noise with a record like this, I think it's unique. And I've gotten a lot of response from it, so I'm pretty proud of it.
Nice. All right. We'll wrap it up with the last couple questions we like to ask, and I'll let you go on your busy way. If there was somebody that we could call up right now, somebody you've never met before, anybody in the whole world, and would come hang out and spend the rest of the day with you, you could talk about anything you want to talk about, who would that be?
That's a good question. Are they alive or dead?
No, they got to be alive.
Ah, shoot. I think everybody really wants, 20 minutes, 30 minutes with, the president of the United States, just to sit and get his head. I look at this guy and I look at, a true maverick, if you want to call it that, but somebody who's living by nothing but, in my opinion, he's out for the betterment of this country by using the way of God. And I really do believe that we're going to look back on this president and this whole entire nation is going to be like, we were almost lost.
Yeah.
We almost fell. This nation was almost finished until this guy took over. I think history is going to tell a much different story about who President Trump was
than CNN is.
Than CNN and the present media has told about it. And I would really like, to sit and have a cup of coffee with him and just to dig around at how he does it. I mean, the guy feels like he never sleeps to me, compared to the last president who, would pop his head up every once in a while. Trump is every single day, 100% Trump trained, full throttle. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter where. It's all about America. I totally love that. And I can't imagine anyone else sitting in that position right now. And I would love just, like I said, 20 minutes. I'll take it.
I'm with you. I'll take 5 minutes after that. Just send them down the road. Okay.
I'll share it with you. You can have to
thanks. That's awesome. All right. So we talk a lot about the American dream. We 100% believe that it is alive and well and possible for anybody who wants to really work for it. We get some sniggers sometimes. People are like, that's so cliche, whatever. I don't care because I believe it. And I know that I think part of the issue in this country is people buying into the mindset that it's over and done, that this is a terrible time to live in the country. We think it's a great time to live in the country. But if we were to ask you, what does the American dream mean to you? What would your answer be?
Well, 2 parts to that question. I'm going to hit the first one. And
hit it.
Right now, the reason people think it's dead is because we live in an instant gratification society. Nobody believes in actually getting your head down to the grindstone for a good 10 or 20 years to accomplish something. They feel like it should be handed to them after 2 or 3 weeks. And that's why people feel like the American dream is dead. When our founding fathers came here, they looked at the landscape as something so broad and so vast. But for somehow they made it all the way across. We established, forts all the way across the country. For me, the American dream would be to go out every single day, wave a flag, get people excited about America, get them excited about faith, bring faith back into our schools, back into our houses, back into our homes, have people waking up in a positive mentality, knowing that there is another day after today, knowing there's another breath after this one, and just keeping this nation in a more positive light. I'm sick of watching the divisive news. I can't stand it anymore. So if I could if I could wake up every single day, get on a stage, and have a bunch of people just wave a flag and sing a song or two with me, that would be the American dream. And I hope that becomes a reality.
Awesome. I think if it hasn't already for you, it is well on its way. And we're excited to be there because we just found out you'll be in our neck of the woods next month. And I think we'll actually be around. So I'm excited to see that in person. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and your schedule. Thank you to your wife for helping set this up, and for Annie for making that introduction. I'm so happy that this has all fallen into place for us. And we look forward to sharing your story.
Well, let's talk about Annie real quick before we leave. Got to give her super props in America's Soldiers Network.
Love it.
She's the one who facilitated this introduction. So thank you, Annie Nelson, and thanks to my beautiful wife, Rebecca, for putting it all together for us today as well.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, sir.